stronger with the information technology today. I'm sitting in front of a little computer, iPad that is recording me, and most of us are linked into the internet, the phone, and so many other things. We're part of a much greater technological vortex or network in which we're wired in via the nervous system and, of course, the mass media. We are receiving constant stimulation via the mass media. Almost all of us, we keep aware of the news. In fact, sometimes people ask me what is happening in the world today, and there's a very simple answer: waves. The earth is 70% water, and the main thing that's happening on the water is the waves. What we call the news is the human manufactured phenomenon of certain socio-political, economic events that our media has regarded as the most important thing for society at a particular time period. It is a type of program. So we're being stimulated through the senses, through the media. We're being stimulated through the senses, through all this computer technology. And then we have the food that we're taking in, which is largely artificial, or extensively for many of us. And then we have, of course, all the recreational and medicinal drugs that we are taking, and including a whole range of new designer drugs and medications. Today, I think it's between 30 and 40% of the children are permanently medicated, and largely for diseases like attention deficit disorder that 30, 40 years ago you could not find in the textbooks. You have diseases of children like measles and mumps and allergies and all these things that have been well known throughout the centuries. But now we have new designer diseases and designer drugs to treat them. And the use of medicinal drugs is increased. Now I think probably by the age of 30, people, 60% are taken, and by the age of 65, 95% of people are taking 5 to 10 different forms of medication a day. And I wouldn't say these are unhelpful or shouldn't be taken, but they have certain effects and ramifications and do tend to be used in excess. And then there is the whole range of the recreational drugs and stimulants that are being used, and also now including a whole new range of special new things. We go to Brazil a lot to teach, but sometimes people think we're going to Brazil for ayahuasca. And even though we live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, there is a lot of ayahuasca there. And even one quasi-Brazilian guru is taking ayahuasca to Rishikesh and giving it to the people who come there. Now, I'm not going to say that these things cannot be useful and don't have a place in certain traditional cultures, but is very limited as to their value, limited in terms of time. And also they have certain side effects on the nervous system. And if you're using them after 20, 30, 40 years, I'm speaking as somebody, as an old hippie from the LSD generation, but if you're still using those things after all those years, it's not much of a sign of progress. But the point is, these are somas. These are special things that give us a high, a bliss, an ananda, a samadhi, a release of sorts, a sense of oneness, a sense of peace. And so they're highly addictive for the mind. And of course, as Durga here knows, we live in the age of addictions, and addictions are becoming more rampant. The mind itself is largely an addictive mechanism. It works through creating attachment, samskaras, getting us caught up in the past, memory, and all of that. In fact, in the yogic thought, the mind is also a form of Soma. Soma is the manas. Mind is the essence of experience, essence of impressions, which is also the memory, particularly the psychological memory, the things about ourselves, our lives, our experience, pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow that we hold deep inside ourselves. So we're facing this challenge of unparalleled in human history of an onslaught of what I would call external somas. There is this famous book from many years ago of Aldous Huxley called Brave New World, where everyone was taking the drug called Soma. Now we are taking these many forms of Soma. Again, some may have their value. I'm not saying they are useless, but if we're relying only on an external form of Soma, we are addicts, and we cannot achieve true happiness or well-being because we are gaining that or looking to that from the outside. It is not coming from inside ourselves. And for the same reason, we have an epidemic of psychological diseases, particularly depression. Actually, depression is very simple. On one level, it's just low energy in the mind. But on another level, depression is the natural side effect of overstimulation. The more you rely on stimuli, the more you become depressed in the long run. When that stimuli is withdrawn, and one of the other issues of stimulation is you need more of it over time. I remember when we were kids, you'd have 1 or 2 car wrecks in a movie. Now you have movies that consist of nothing but car wrecks. Because you need more stimulation, see? And so stimulation, relying on the outside, makes you more tamasy. And that tamas breeds a certain amount of depression, and that tends to grow and develop and manifest over the period of time. And we have also psychological disorders of various types. Another one to talk about is the attention deficit. But we're doing nothing to cultivate the power of attention. Average scene in a movie is about 20 seconds. The average frame in a computer game is about a quarter second. And yoga, we say the foundation of dhyana, or meditation, is the dharana, or the concentration. What is your power of attention? That is how you can measure your power of intelligence, your willpower, your independence, self-control, power of judgment, discrimination, and overall power of well-being. So today we're cultivating people with me-centered dharana. We do not want dharana. Because if you have dharana, you make your own choices. You act independently. If you're following stimulation, you do what the media wants you to do. Your buttons are pushed immediately. Today, people are much more self-sensitive than they were some time ago. Nobody can be criticized, which is not to say we should criticize anyone. But now we get up in arms. We cannot tolerate anyone criticizing or negativity. The yogic ideal of being beyond flattery or insult is certainly not being cultivated. It's the opposite. If anything critical is said, we should get up in arms and stage a protest and make a big deal about it. So the Dharma, the flow of attention, is also a kind of Soma. In fact, it is the basis of the higher Soma of the mind, and it's the basis of the Soma of our experience. So today, we have so many powerful outer Somas that we can run after. It's unbelievable. In previous generations, many of these were limited to rich people who could afford to travel or have unusual drugs, alcohol, meat, cultural experiences, all of that. But today it's something almost so many people, particularly in the affluent world, can have. So it's a tremendous onslaught. And again, we're also targeting the children. Now, the child's mind is in the phone. It's in a box. One of the principles of psychology is the mind imitates its environment. And so if the mind's environment is space, the mind has space. If the mind's focus is a box, we have a box. Sometimes when I buy people, they're on a computer or whatever, I say, let's go watch this. I say, what are you looking at? And they say this or that program. I say, no, what you're looking at is a box. The program is an illusion projected through the box, but you're still limited in that particular box. Another question is, how high resolution is your screen? Whether it's the computer screen, or whether it is the big television or movie screen that you watch, we are getting better and better resolution, right? Yet none of that resolution can compare with the resolution you see in nature. The three-dimensional, the subtlety, the nuances of color. In fact, as we have more sophisticated technology, we're becoming more sensory deprived. We're losing our sensory acuity. Just as we have more and more junk food, or more and more processed food, we become more malnourished. Because we don't have the prana, we don't have the vital energy to go with it. So our ability to appreciate subtle sensory perceptions is deteriorating. We need things that are very bright, very loud, and very fast in their movement. And this is changing the way the mind works. Another factor of stimulation is a lot of fast sensory impression from the outside. In a simple movie, the whole people will be killed and there'll be births and deaths. If you sit out in nature, it takes a whole day for the sun to rise and the sun to set. We're stimulated, our nervous system is stimulated so much. And this causes the mind to move too fast on the outside, but the mind to be slow, dull, non-responsive on the inside, because it's used to that stimulation. And the basic rule is the faster the mind moves, the more it depletes its soma, the more it weakens its power of attention. Depleting soma, we mean depleting the tarpak kapha. So, even though we have found drugs that can manipulate the brain chemistry, we do not have a way of replenishing that basic soma or the tarpak kapha. So we can see that this challenge is growing, and the challenge to the younger generation is greater than the challenge to some of us older generation. And we wonder where it's ending up for the future. And I don't want to portray it as something totally negative. There is value to information, connection, and communication. As a writer who once wrote books on typewriters, it's very nice to have a computer. But when the technology becomes more important than the person or the reality, then it becomes a problem. So there's a question that arises, is can we still develop and produce the inner forms of Soma? In fact, in the world today, most of us don't even know there is an inner Soma. We think the Soma is only on the outside. We're involved in the external pursuit of happiness, which is the pursuit of somas based through the sense organs, motor organs, food, social interaction, or various things in the external world. And the point is, as long as we're getting our soma from the outside, we are being controlled, and we are going to be ultimately subject to disturbance and unhappiness, and we will ultimately end in a state of sorrow. And whoever controls your soma controls you. And you'll notice that for the more exotic the form of enjoyment, entertainment, or stimulation that we have, the more expensive it is. And now even our medicine has become a type of soma, dispensed by professionals who can help us. The question arises, is there an inner form of soma? How can we develop it? And can we, through that, free ourselves from the limitations of the outer forms of the soma, and also learn to master our technology, which again is a kind of soma. So what the yoga is, in fact the yoga, Ayurveda, Vedic sciences, are ways of generating inner forms of soma. That is what they are all about. And there are different types of soma, whether through the Ayurveda, the astrology, the yoga, but they all ultimately connect us to that deeper ananda or higher form of soma. Basically what people